Scientists have long questioned whether there is life on Mars, and by the looks of these latest pictures, there very well might be. Since the 1970s, scientists have been sending spacecraft to Mars. Several different types of spacecraft have been sent to the Red Planet over the years, and they all have different specialties. One type, called orbiters, orbit Mars, taking pictures as they zoom around the planet. Other spacecraft, called landers, provide photos and information from their landing spots on the surface of Mars. Rovers have wheels and specialize in moving around. They land on the surface of Mars and drive around to different spots. Rovers help scientists in their quest to understand what different parts of the planet are made of. Mars is made up of lots of different types of rocks, and each rock is made up of a mixture of chemicals. A rover can drive around to different areas, studying the different chemicals in each rock. These chemicals can tell scientists something about the environments that changed that rock over time. NASA's Viking 1 orbiter zipped near Mars in 1976 and took this now iconic image of the surface. What got everyone excited is the face-like formation in the upper center of the picture. If you have a creative mind, it's easy to see it as having two eyes, a nose, a mouth and a weird hairdo. It even looks a bit like a young Elvis Presley. You can see why some people thought the face was an alien-built monument on Mars. NASA's rovers make strange discoveries on Mars. NASA's rover seems to have spotted something rather unusual among the usually uninhabited and rocky Martian landscape. A UFO, you might think? A three-headed fish, even? Nope. The pictures show what seems to be a small, fluffy mouse, just hanging out on Mars. Cute little spikes. NASA's Curiosity rover snapped views of these wild little formations on Mars on May 15, 2022. The surreal tiny bits of Martian surface were likely carved by erosion of sedimentary rock. The Curiosity team chimed in to say they were probably formed billions of years ago when groundwater moved through the area in the Gale crater. Over time, winds eroded away softer material, leaving the spikes behind. Perseverance rover, butt crack rock. NASA's Perseverance rover arrived on the Red Planet in February 2021 and has since snapped a bounty of images of the landscape in the Jezero crater. This fantastically funny-looking rock caught the eye of space fans who laughed about its resemblance to a rear end. It earned the nickname, Butt Crack Rock. A thigh bone on Mars. Mark one up for the funny bone file. NASA's Curiosity rover sent a photo back to Earth in 2014 that showed a very odd rock shaped a bit like a femur bone from a human thigh. Scientists obligingly explained that the unusual shape was most likely the product of erosion by wind or water. If NASA ever did amazingly find human remains on Mars, scientists would want to shout it from the rooftops. Suspended spoon stretches out. Take a look at the center of this image from NASA's Curiosity rover. You might see a long-handled spoon stretching out over the landscape, casting a shadow below. Is this a sign that cooking is a popular hobby on Mars? Unfortunately, no. Mars doesn't have the same pull of gravity we have on Earth, so fragile formations like this one have a chance of holding up and not just crumbling down to the ground. Female statue on Mars? NASA's Spirit rover delivered an image in 2007 showing a view of craggy little rock formations across the surface of Mars. One dramatically shaded formation stood out in the form of what looked like a little walking humanoid, either that or Bigfoot. Brachiosaurus rock. Software engineer and citizen scientist Kevin Gill has a knack for finding funny Mars rocks in rover images. He spotted this Brachiosaurus-shaped rock as snapped by the Perseverance rover on Mars in April 2021. Unfortunately, we've seen no evidence of real dinosaurs on Mars, and we're still looking for signs of ancient microbial life. Another Mars mystery. Scientists discover strange circles on the Red Planet. Scientists are scratching their heads after spotting a collection of circles on Mars. Researchers at NASA are calling these formations unusual sand dunes sitting on the surface of the red planet, which they say are almost perfectly circular. The space agency's Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter, MRO, spotted the shapes as it studied how frost thaws at the end of Martian winter. Sand dunes of many shapes and sizes are common on Mars. In this example, the dunes are almost perfectly circular, which is unusual, NASA explains in a statement. A bushel of blueberries. Blueberries are not a significant source of iron when consumed on Earth, but these geological blueberries, discovered by NASA's Opportunity rover on Mars in 2004, are built differently. These iron-rich spheres, polished smooth by plentiful amounts of water billions of years ago, are some of the earliest evidence scientists have of Mars once being an incredibly wet world. Whether they also taste good on cheesecake is a question for future generations to grapple with. Frozen flowers, branching outward like a tiny coral. This delicate mineral flower is about the closest thing to greenery one can find on the red planet today. Mineral deposits like these are common sights across Mars, and result from ancient water mixing with ancient rock. Still, it's rare to see a deposit that's so perfectly flower-like, NASA researchers said. Curiosity spotted this floral feature in Feb. 2022. A Martian book. Perhaps weary from hunting for evidence of ancient water, NASA's Curiosity rover took a short break in April 2023 to leaf through the pages of an old Martian hardback lying in the dust of Getty's Vallis. While the strange object may look like a book with a single page frozen mid-turn, it is in fact just a rock, and a small one at that. The charming little book rock measures just 1 inch, 2.5 centimeters, wide, according to NASA. At least it's travel size. Martian animal tracks. Did alien creatures once skitter across the surface of Mars, leaving fossilized tracks embedded in the rocks? One researcher made this controversial claim in 2018, pointing to images of stick-like structures, each about the size of a grain of rice, crisscrossing a Martian rock. A green rock with drill holes. The rock is about 6 inches, 15 centimeters, long and sits in Mars' Jezero crater, close to the rover's landing site. The rover has already zapped the rock with a laser to vaporize part of it. The vapor cloud will be analyzed by the rover's cameras and spectrometers to reveal its chemical composition. Perhaps we'll have an answer to this mystery sooner rather than later. Mars is the fourth planet in the solar system in order of distance from the Sun and seventh in size and mass. It is a periodically conspicuous reddish object in the night sky. The red planet is a cold, desert world within our solar system. It has a very thin atmosphere, but the dusty, lifeless, as far as we know it, planet is far from dull. Phenomenal dust storms can grow so large they engulf the entire planet. Temperatures can get so cold that carbon dioxide in the atmosphere condenses directly into snow or frost. And Marsquakes, a Mars version of an earthquake, regularly shake things up. Therefore, it is no surprise that this little red rock continues to intrigue scientists and is one of the most explored bodies in the solar system, according to NASA Science. Humans have been seeing strange things on the surface of Mars for centuries. Perhaps it's because, other than Earth, Mars is the closest thing in the solar system to a habitable planet, or perhaps it's simply because it's close enough to get a pretty good look at.